Hey everybody, and welcome to this more or less impromptu, kind of raw edition of our Love in Lebanon podcast. This is technically episode 161, but man, we wanted to capture just the kind of the feelings of the total eclipse that took place just yesterday. So this is recorded on Tuesday. We're going to have it up for you on Tuesday. We want to be able to have some folks that had a unique view and have kind of been in tune with celestial bodies, so to speak. We've got Mike and Makada Love here on this episode of the Love in Lebanon podcast. Loves, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And everybody, when you see the image that we're going to put with this podcast, that's Mike's picture that he sent to us and was kind enough to pass along some images to kind of help tell the story of the total eclipse that took place in Lebanon. Guys, first off, what is it about taking pictures of outer space that kind of geek or gravitate with both of you guys? Mike, I saw the one you showed me before we hit record. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of been one of those persons that gravitates towards technical challenges, and the astrophotography thing looked like just one of those really tough things to try to pull off, and it takes a lot of time to research, figure out how you want to do it, the preparation, and then there's post processing. So I guess for me it was looking at the photos that the guys who spent years to try to get the good photo. It's like I want to do that. So that's where and Makada will tell you that I'm one of those persons who obsesses on something once I lock into it, and that's kind of what I did. And astrophotography lends itself to preparation and really kind of doing as much research and preparing beforehand. I'll tell her when I pick a target to photograph, I think about it days in advance, and all the settings that you want to use and such. So it's for me, it's really the technical part, but I do love just the way it turns out. So
astrophotography. So
yes.
that's a technical term, and that's a vocab that we're learning on this podcast here.
Yeah, and I think for Makada, it's a totally different experience, and I'll let her elaborate on that.
Yeah,
it definitely is. Like for me, it's kind of a spiritual experience. So I'll get out the clippings of the bodies, Orion's belt, various things like that, and I'll say, I want you to shoot this because that experience, it's the spiritual experience. And so he is meticulous. He has the best equipment. I know he'll get me the shot, and we fretted over this eclipse shot, would you say?
Absolutely, it's
so you want to blow it, screw it up,
right.
And the next
you got 3 minutes basically of, and the problem was I was just really, the weather was the real wild card. The clouds weren't the best for us. I mean, when you see the photo, you'll see a lot of people. You'll see a real bright ring around the sun, and ideally it would look like clouds radiating and shooting out. But our cloud cover last night or yesterday actually kind of diffused that light, so you couldn't pick up the detail. So that was a little bit disappointing. But I mean, we're still blessed that we were able to get as good a weather as we had.
And so, what were you guys thinking? And you talked about these. The astrophotography that you're in, you take a couple days to kind of plan your shot and all those things. Same thing here, knowing that it wasn't looking for Orion's belt, but this was tick-tock. You got to get the shot and get in a spot where it's going to be and be able to capture a moment that's truly remarkable. And what you got was great.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I had gone out and practiced. I knew what exposures I wanted to use, and it kind of had an idea what the framing was going to look like. In fact, I didn't really have the right lens that I thought for the eclipse, so I just got on eBay and I found a lens that is not desirable for most photographers because it's not a automatic focus, but you can buy them for cheap. So I was able to get a lens for about $120 that was absolutely perfect for the eclipse. So yeah, it's practice and it's trying things. And sometimes you fail, and astrophotography is for sure that way. I'll spend a whole night and have a failure. Just doesn't turn out, and she'll wake up in the morning. It's like, hey, where was the photo? I said, just didn't turn out. So, but sometimes
that's rare though.
But sometimes I'll wake her up at 2 or 3 in the morning and like, you got to see this. As it starts to develop. So,
and you guys just for different reasons kind of geek out about this. What
Absolutely.
were your thoughts about what happened yesterday? As you 150 it's starting to happen. What are you kind of feeling? And have you ever seen, I guess a better question should be, have you guys ever experienced an eclipse before back in 17 or elsewhere? Was this number one for you guys?
This was number one.
Yeah. So yeah, 17 disappointed. Obviously, the weather did not cooperate for us, and we didn't travel for that. Knowing what I saw yesterday, I probably would travel now. I knew it was going to be special. For me, it's not one of those emotional, moving. I'm going to be in tears, but it was so much different than you've ever seen that it's just an awe just to see. I think we talked about prior that. Leading up to it, within seconds, it's still too bright to look at. You still have to wear your glasses, and then the switch is thrown, and you take your glasses off, and you can see it in all its glory. It's just that I wasn't expecting, and I'd had conversations with other people, and they, explained. I said, people are driving to see this, and they just didn't get it. I said, you're going to get it after you see it. It's just you can't explain it, and it's just different.
Big Mac,
it was
same
amazing.
thing? Okay.
It was truly amazing. You could feel the temperature drop. Our solar lights came on, and we had 20 guests at our house, and they were all gasping. But everything was very quiet, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. No, I didn't cry yesterday, but today I'm like coming down off that high, and it's been kind of a surreal experience.
And Mike, I think you said it perfectly. Like, you don't know, you maybe take it for granted until you experience it. Going back to 17, we went to Hopkinsville. My wife was like, I want to be able to see it in my lifetime. And so it was like, whatever. I've seen the eclipse before. It's not totality. This is this is partial. Anyway, so you're kind of down there, but then in the moment, it's one of those things where, oh my goodness, I've got to experience this again. And the fact that it happened where we live in Lebanon was pretty remarkable. Man, everybody, we're talking with Mike and Makada Love. They got a really, really great vantage point and a great view of yesterday's total eclipse, and would love to hear your thoughts too. We've put some social media posts out there, and you've shared some pictures, which has been phenomenal to see. But if you want to send us kind of what you were thinking along those lines, you can send it to Lebanon at lebanon.in.gov. But if we can kind of recap, so things get quiet. Like the temperature falls. It was remarkable to me just to kind of see initially when it was kind of like a countdown, like we're in New York City and we're Times Square, but then when it happened, like nothing else mattered. It wasn't one of those things. No one's checking Facebook. No one's fighting about whatever. It's just everyone's focused on one centralized. Yes. It was just I didn't get emotional the first time, but the second one, it was just like, this is something bigger than any of us. This is a big deal.
Agreed.
You guys gonna feel the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, I looked out and every eye was up into the heavens. It was, you're right. Nobody on their cell phones. I mean, just awe-inspiring for me.
Yeah, and even the people who, are typically don't want to, they're always going 100 mile an hour. And, it's hard to relax. They were all just, okay, I better should take some time.
Yeah.
We live right down the road from the state highway department, and we looked down at the state highway department. Everyone was standing. They were working that yesterday, and they were all standing outside the garage watching it. So
even the little kiddos, we had kiddos at our place as young as 1.
Yeah.
And all of them that could wear the glasses. We even put elastic pieces behind to keep them taped to their little heads. And they were all just stargazing. It was so cool.
I've seen the adorable images too of the paper plates where they've cut out a spot for their noses. But all that.
It was pretty ingenious.
And I love it too. You mentioned it, Makada, the little kids. And seeing pictures of our senior population also being able to kind of experience this once in a lifetime thing, from young, from old. There were some that were more apt to do it outside of the city limits, and they want to do it kind of with their families and kind of be all by themselves, which was great. There are others that wanted to do it with community, which was great. I mean, it was one of those unique events where it didn't really matter how you experienced it, but everybody experienced it in a different way. Did you guys kind of feel that same kind of special vibe with it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. We saw, a couple of our neighbors, we could see across the way, they were having a big gathering of people, and then another neighbor was having a gathering as well. So you could just tell everybody wanted to be together to experience it together. So and I think it was more fun experiencing it as a group, honestly, because my reaction and their reaction were almost all the same. I mean, everybody's just like that moment of silence and just like, it's just interesting to see what other people felt. And, I'm always geeked out pretty easily. And so it's interesting to see people are geeked out over some of the same stuff. So.
And I loved seeing the community too. I mean, all of the posts on Facebook leading up to it, the fun events. But my gosh, the watch parties, like at the pool. And I mean, they were in the park, they were everywhere on the square. And that was just really cool to see our entire community stop and look up.
Yeah, and we had meetings and things, and Makada, you were a part of those, going and chatting about different things that we were going to do from a city perspective, and kind of talking about it's going to be a madhouse, and finding out what's going to happen down in Bloomington and IMS and the Idle Jorg and all those things, Newfields, and knowing that roads are going to be packed, and it was just kind of like whatever. You don't know until you experience it, and it was one of those things that I'll never forget it.
Me either.
Any of it.
Me either. And I hope my grandkids don't. We've got tons of pictures to share with them if they do. But I mean, grandkids all the way from 4 up to my dad who just turned 80. So generations got to check that out.
Oh yeah. It's, I was talking about, it's like, I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. And of course, never will unless, you're willing to travel. Yeah. I think the next one's over, you can Missouri, Alabama, kind of that area, but that's many years away, but it's just amazing. I see why people travel.
I was going to say that was going to be my next question for both of you. Do you see why people geek out about it? There are people from, we got Sydney, Australia, we got Indonesia came into Lebanon to see we're doing a map with pins and things, and it's amazing to see how far folks will travel to chase this thing.
That's crazy.
And with the weather down in Texas being what it was, we got an influx of people, kind of ripple effect. But
I think we definitely chase another one, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and I found it interesting. I heard some of the conversation talking about how they didn't understand why people would spend money to come, as much money as they did to come see this. And I said, well, what's a Super Bowl ticket cost, or what's a ticket to the NCAA championship?
Yeah, Purdue in the final.
Right.
What's that worth to you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's buying, because I think they mentioned that some people here in Lebanon had bought tickets for Texas, and they'd bought it for Indiana, and they looked at the weather and they made their decision that Indiana was the better choice. And you figure maybe a couple they spent $600-700, but that maybe bought a couple of beers and some popcorn at the Super Bowl. So I don't see it as a
$30 nachos. Right? Yeah, we've all been there.
and the reality is, watching the Super Bowl from your home, I think on TV for me is a better experience. But the watching an eclipse from a camera or from television is not the same. This is one that you definitely have to feel and be there, I think. Yeah. And I'm not usually a touchy-feely kind of guy, so it's something you got to experience it. So
we're 23:43. Wow, is a long time to wait for people. So this is something you would chase, you would go to again.
I think we would.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we would. Yeah. Lori's up for a challenge and a little road trip.
Yeah. I'll never forget the guy we got the glasses from. It says he works at Purdue to fund his eclipse habit. He has been all over the world and has been it was something like 17 eclipses, and it was just mind-blowing. And at the same time, it was like, man, come on, dude. But then you experience it, and you can see as soon as it was over, it was like, man, I just wish it was just a little bit longer.
Yes.
Just a little, just a few seconds.
All of a sudden, there's like this longing inside of you. I want to see that again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the technical side of me is like, I think I would photograph. I do some things photographing it differently next time too. So
he does always analyze his work afterwards, and I'm just like, that is perfect.
Now, going back to, what was it again? Astrophotography?
Yeah,
what was
astrophotography.
If someone's wanting to get into this, if they've got a bend that way, something you'd recommend, I'm guessing, is it one of those things like an eclipse where you take an image, you catch Orion's belt, and you're like, ooh, how about the next one? The next one, is it something
Absolutely,
like that?
And it's, so, what I would recommend, anybody has the bug, we're kind of getting out of the season for it, but if you look in the sky, in the western sky, there's the Orion the Hunter, and it's pretty easily identified. It's got 3 stars in a row. With a pair of binoculars, you can easily see what's called M42 or Orion's Nebula. So that's a super easy and gratifying target to see without much equipment. You could probably do it with a cell phone. You might be able to get it in dark skies, but that's one that all beginners start off with. In the summertime it's gone, but in the wintertime and late fall you can get it. But that's what I'd recommend. It doesn't take a lot high end equipment. Milky Way, we've done Milky Way photos with just a regular wide angle 35 millimeter camera. It doesn't take tracking. It's pretty easy to do.
You've taken pictures of the moon.
Yeah,
Saturn,
the moon's
Jupiter.
moon is a super bright target. Very easy to do. I mean, but some of the more advanced photos, you're taking 5-minute exposures, and you're taking images night after night, and then you combine them digitally. So it gets a lot more intense. But the moon is one of those that's one and done, easy to do, very gratifying. So.
As we kind of wrap up things, and guys, we're talking with Mike and Makada Love. Got a really great still picture, and I'm guessing you've got the different stages of the eclipse as well. You documented that whole sucker, and so we may have to pry some of those and share those with you at a later date. But I thought, talking with both of you yesterday after the eclipse, the showing of Lebanon, you kind of talked about, Makada, the different watch party locations. How do you think Lebanon showed to all the folks that were out of town? We've heard a lot of positive feedback so far, and a lot of good things. You guys are both from the area and love the area. And
I'm proud of my little hometown. I had an aunt in from Arizona, and
who was just a little too shy, just a little bit,
just a wee bit too shy.
We almost invited everybody just to come in the room, just kind of sit with us and just see.
I applied lots of pressure,
she declined, so maybe she's going to listen to this podcast, so we can give her a shout out. But from Arizona,
Arizona, Aunt Romaine, if you're listening, special shout out.
Love your noodles and lettuce, kind of the city and how it showed out. Yes. It seemed that there was a lot of positive feedback, positivity as a result of this.
Lots of activities for all age groups. I mean, we did a lot of fun stuff with the grandkids, but lots of music and dining and just for all ages. I'm really proud of our little town for putting this together on the fly like we did.
Well, yeah,
I think we rocked it.
For them to go all in on really a not knowing. I mean, the reality is, people could have they were waking up Monday morning and they saw the forecast. And the people from the Chicagoland area, if they saw cloud cover and rain, they weren't going to come. And so you had all this preparation and all this effort, and that would have went to waste. I think it was nice to see the city took some risk to, to kind of hedge on a turnout. And we were blessed with fantastic weather, and I think that's what a lot of people got up that day and just said, you're gonna head south. If you're coming from the north, Lebanon's the first city you hit that had totality.
Yeah, and that's really, you said it perfectly, guys, because that was the most difficult thing in helping to plan this. Was you had no idea. There were a couple of ticketed events. There was a concert and there was a 5K, but you didn't know, and so so much was speculation. And I remember when we started planning this, someone looked ahead to the forecast. This was August of 23. It's supposed to be overcast and rainy. Oh, great! On the 8th. So you're going from there.
We burst our bubble.
Yeah. And then people coming in, like, the forecast for the 8th, right, is going to be like overcast and rainy. And so, and in talking with all the experts, they're like, it's party in the rain. It still happens. It's not like there's a rain date for an eclipse. And so it is what it is. And so you're exactly right. It was a roll of the dice. And thankfully, Lebanon, as far as that spectrum goes, in the line of totality, we had some of the best weather, I think, that I saw from a lot of the images and videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we did too.
You gonna chase the next one? You going
Heck
west?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I was gonna say too. And maybe you are too, everybody. And we appreciate you taking in the eclipse if you did, and wherever it was, if it was out in the country, with your family, by yourself, a whole bunch of people. Hopefully you got a chance to experience, and please share your pictures if you like. We're putting together a photo album to put in our time capsule, and also just to commemorate the 2024 eclipse, and being able to do that with you and being able to recap with Mike and Makada has been awesome. Guys, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thanks. And if you want to bend Mike's ear, maybe I'll put some of his contact info, or at least professional pages, so you can reach out to him to maybe kind of get some tutelage on looking spaceward and being able to capture some images like Mike and Makada do. So appreciate them being on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. This was one of those down and dirty episodes, everybody. Want to get it out to you quick while the moment is still fresh. Hopefully you got a chance to experience the eclipse, and boy, we're all kind of looking forward to the next one. So thanks again for listening, and we'll chat again soon. See you guys.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, Aunt from...